a close friend. We went through this like experience together. And it was very difficult and it was very hard. And we were both going through breakups and we were affected by heartbreak. And we had a friend and we would go to parties with her and hang out. And she was unapologetically and fearlessly who she was in every situation, in every time frame. If she was drunk and she wanted to get on the table, she would get up on that table and she would dance anyway, you know? And it was inspiring and also encouraging. And it got to a point where her fearlessness was infectious. And we ended up feeling that fearlessness. And I think that fearlessness and that inspiration to be authentically you and do what feels true to you in that moment in time, regardless of how other people are going to interact. One, not only is showing yourself love, but is also giving others the permission to do the same. And I think in the journey of self-love, people get caught up in the, well, what if this happens? Or what if somebody reacts like this? And a lot of fear comes from being judged. But most people want the permission. They want somebody to say or show or do something that they want to do so they know it's okay. You know, even like looking at Instagram feeds, like people are like, oh, I want to reply to this, but I don't want to be the first one to comment and be the only one to comment. You know what I mean? So they need that permission from somebody else to do so. But by living fearlessly and authentically to yourself, you can then give others permission to do the same. And I think it goes beyond just like setting the example and sharing like, I love myself, so you should too. But it's also like the choice of being like, I'm going to do what feels good to me in this moment in time. And as a result of that, I'm giving other people the permission to do so. Like, we are a collective of humans and we rely on each other and we rely on our interactions with each other. And it's so important to not only give ourselves the choice to be us unapologetically, but by giving others the permission to do so too.
We celebrate ourselves so that we may celebrate others. I am gone. I am my love and I am my energy. And I think that that has fueled me in my discovery of self. My decision to live every decision of my life based with the forefront of love at that decision. When you can step outside of yourself and look at yourself like that, you're able to also link in with the bigger picture, with the bigger collective. And at first it's scary, but it's also so beautiful to feel that, because also humans are not the only living creatures here. We're not the only energy. We are the energy amongst the trees and the plants and the birds and the fish in the sea. I think once we can start thinking of, we have gone so hard into individualism. And I do think that that is beautiful. And I do think, right, because we do have to have that love for self and the care for self, but it is a balance with the collective. We can't be so based in consumption that then we are depleting everything around us, because we have to exist within the place in which we are existing.
Well, and I think too, kind of branching off of that, part of self-love is this, it's a give and take, right? It's not, I am going to love myself so I don't have energy for anybody else, you know, and that doesn't have to be in a romantic lens, you know. It's not, I'm going to love myself so hard that I'm only going to do things for me all the time, because there is a boundary between self-love and selfishness. Like there is, but at the same time, that doesn't mean you can't give yourself permission to do things for you and set healthy boundaries. But part of that is being awake and aware enough to know this is my boundary of when I am being and living authentically and vulnerably to myself, versus this is when I'm only doing things for me because that's what I want to do. There is a boundary there. And I think that's an important thing to discuss in the journey of self-love as well, because I think, like anything, you get into something and you go into it full force and you hit that extreme, but there comes a point where you find a balance and a groundedness within that. And I think that part of self-love is being grounded enough to be able to take a look at yourself and criticize yourself too, and be able to look at yourself and say, you know what, I am being selfish. I need to be more present in my relationship. Or I am being selfish. I've done 30 things for me this week and I've done nothing for my dog. It's stuff as small as that. Just being aware of how your energy not only gives permission to other people to live in the way that you live, filled with self-love and self-respect, but at the same time, empowering other people by being aware and present of their feelings and how your actions of self-love impact their experience.
The balance between selflessness and selfishness
Exactly.
is that harmony
Right.
within ourselves. Selflessness being that you are concerning others' needs and desires more than self, and selfishness concerning self more than others. And if we are attempting to find the balance, continue holding each of those things with the same values, sometimes selfishness will need to be more because you are so balanced into selflessness. So then you have to have more of it, so then you can come into harmony. But then if you are so into selfishness, then of course selflessness, you'll need more of it to then balance it back out. And so for me, I think in the terms of going to my highest self or being the best version of Jacob, it's maintaining and trying to get to that balance. As we've been speaking about with just even my existence as a human being on earth, I think when we look at the whole, the human population is very into the selfishness. Like, and that's seen in also within even our own species, right? Like it's raged within ourselves, that then we can't even treat other human beings with, like, we are so out of balance. Like that, if that was a pendulum, it would be pretty bad. That is directly correlated with our relationship with nature. We are leeches and fleas on the organism that is Earth. And until we realize that and we actually start writing that, I think, well, we remain in an imbalance within ourselves. And I think those two things are really correlated.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, like, it is a balance. And you look at any religion, you look at any form of spirituality, whether it's Hinduism or Buddhism or Christianity or your Judaism or Muslim, we have, everything has a balance of, there's God and there's the devil, there's Allah, and then I don't know enough about the Muslim religion to know their counter, but or you have yin and yang, and there's, everything is about balance. And I think that selfishness and selflessness fall in that category. And I think that people are afraid to love themselves because they're afraid to be selfish. But I don't think that people understand that a majority of life is a gray area. It's being present and having to make decisions that are difficult, because things aren't black and white. Things aren't good and bad. Things aren't, angelic and evil. And we have these decisions to make on a daily basis, even so much as I'm going to make myself a cup of tea in the morning versus I'm not, and I'm just going to rush myself to work. And it's making time for yourself is not selfish, but doing something for yourself that affects other people negatively is. And I think what it comes down to is self-love and selfishness are divided solely by the fact and the impact of other people. Are the actions and choices you're making in your self-love something that is going to affect other people negatively, or is it going to empower others to make better decisions?